Dear students, today we are going to study some bacterial diseases and their modes of transmission. Firstly, we'll take up airborne diseases caused by the bacteria. The first one is tuberculosis. It is a gram-positive bacteria called as Mycobacterium tuberculosis, is also called as Mycobacterium tuberculi ver hominis. It was first identified by Koch, and bovine tuberculosis was caused by M. bovis, a rod-shaped bacteria enclosed in tubercles. The mode of transmission is droplet infection, and TB is developed by around 1/3 of all the people who have contracted or are suffering from AIDS. The symptom involves weight loss, fatigue, fever, cough, and blood in sputum. Generally, the respiratory tract is infected and the infection is established in lungs. The diagnostic methods are X-rays, the polymerase chain reaction test, DNA probes, then HPLC test, etc. And we are having Mentox test in place for identification of tuberculosis, which involves an injection of purified protein from the pathogen, and the already sensitized T cell reacts with these proteins, and a hypersensitive reaction occurs at the site of injection of the purified proteins, which causes reddening and hardening on that particular site. And if it hardens after 48 hours and reddens, then it is assumed that the person is having tuberculosis. But 100% certainty is not ensured by Mentox test. Then we have other method also in place called the septic check method, in which we use antigen probes to find out the presence of the pathogen. We have a vaccine in place for tuberculosis also, which involves Bacillus calmette, which is BCG vaccine, Bacillus calmette guerin. Then another disease is diphtheria. Diphtheria means membrane, and the IA means the condition. This is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheria, which is a gram-positive bacteria. It is part of the normal microflora of the skin, but at times it enters through respiratory tracts and gets itself lodged in the tonsils, secretes exotoxin, and is spread by droplet infection. The symptoms of diphtheria involves nasal discharge, vomiting, headache, cough, stiffness in neck and back due to swollen trachea. Now, penicillin erythromycin can counter this pathogen, and the test is Schick test. We have DPT vaccine available for prevention of this disease, which is diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus vaccine. When we subject a person to this vaccine, fever is always develops. Another disease is pertussis, which is also called as whooping cough. Per means intensive and tussis means cough. Bordetella pertussis causes whooping cough, which is a gram-negative bacteria. Then it spreads through droplet infection, and generally it victimizes the children up to 5 years of age. The organ of infection is bronchi. and it is diagnosed by nasopharyngeal swabs and serological tests. Treatment involves subjecting the person with chloramphenicol, erythromycin, tetracyclines, and we have DPT vaccine for this. Then meningitis is, which is also called as encephalitis. It is the infection of meninges or the membranes which surrounds the brain. Menix means meninges and itis means inflammation. It is caused by Neisseria meningitidis, which is a gram-negative Diplococcus bacteria. It produces endotoxins. It is also called by another bacteria which is called as Flavobacterium meningospecticum and Haemophilus influenzae. The bacterial meningitis is caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae, Staphylococcus, Haemophilus influenzae, Microbacterium, tuberculosis, and nocardia. Aseptic meningitis, on the other hand, is caused by Mycoplasma, virus, amoeba, and fungi. The organ of infection are meninges of the brain and upper respiratory tract. The symptom involves severe headache. Treatment is generally done by penicillin, chloramphenicol, cefixime, ofloxacin. Then we have pneumonia caused by Diplococcus pneumoniae, which inhabits normally in the pharyngeal region of our respiratory tract. And pneumonia is also caused by Klebsiella pneumonia or Mycoplasma pneumoniae. It spreads by droplet infection. The symptom involves fever, inflammation of lung, shortness of breath, then yellow cough. Then we have X-ray and biochemical tests and culture methods to ensure the Diplococcus infection. Treatment is done by penicillin, cefotaxime, ofloxacin, erythromycin, and tetracyclines. And we also have pneumovax or pneumonia vaccine for prevention of this disease. Then come to another mode of transmission of the disease, bacterial diseases, which is food and water. Cholera means bile, and it is caused by Vibrio cholerae, which is a gram-negative curved bacteria, contains single flagellum. It was discovered by Koch. The toxin produced by Vibrio cholerae is choleragen, which enters the epithelial cells of the intestine and induces the secretion of water and chloride ions. And it also inhibits the absorption of sodium ions. Therefore, the patient loses a lot of water and electrolytes and suffers great dehydration. Among the symptoms the patient suffers are abdominal cramps, diarrhea, vomiting, low-grade fever, and rice water stool. It is spread by food and water contaminated with the fecal matter of the patient. It is treated by tetracyclines, trimethoprim, ciprofloxacin, and orally we give sodium chloride and sucrose solution. Another food and waterborne disease is botulism. Botulus means sauces. It is caused by Clostridium botulinum, which is an obligate anaerobe and is a gram-positive rod-shaped bacteria. It produces neurotoxin, which breaks the synaptic membrane proteins. Also, which is called as synaptobrevin, inhibits the exocytosis and release of acetylcholine. Therefore, causes failure of muscle contraction and weakness begins to affect the sufferer. It affects the neuromuscular junction. Therefore, botulinism is a type of food poisoning, or in common parlance, it is called as food poisoning caused by Clostridium botulinum. Then we have typhoid. Typhoid means smoke. Causative organism is Salmonella typhi, which is a gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria found in food and water. It affects small intestine, but it spreads to lymphoid tissue, liver and gallbladder also. The symptoms involves fever, headache, constipation and loss of appetite. Preventive measures are purification of water and pasteurization of milk. Treatment involves antibiotics, ceftriaxone and ampicillin. The test is called as Vidal test. Typhoid Mary was a girl who used to work as a cook in New York. She was responsible for infecting or creating 21 cases in just 7 hours, but she was arrested. Upon examination of her stool, bacteria of typhoid were discovered, but she had no symptoms. She was asked not to work again as a cook, but she changed her name and started acting as cook, and was further responsible for 10 other outbreaks. Then we have shigellosis, which causes bacillary dysentery, or the disease is also called as bacillary dysentery, caused by Shigella, which is a gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria. It is transmitted by fingers, contaminated fingers, feces and flies, through flies. Produces both endotoxins and exotoxins, and the organ which is affected is colon, and the colon get ulcerated. It is sometimes fatal in children, otherwise it is self-limiting in adults. The immune system overpowers it. Treatment involves personal hygiene, clean water supply. Then we have fluoroquinols and trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole for the treatment. Bacteria which are transmitted through soil are tetanus. Tetanus means to stretch. It is also called as lockjaw disease, caused by Clostridium tetani, which is a gram-positive anaerobic bacteria and forms endospore. Affects neuromuscular junctions and causes permanent contraction of skeletal muscles. The bacteria generally found in the rusted iron and in soil, and it is generally transferred through wounds created in the skin. The toxin which is released by the bacteria is a neurotoxin called as tetanospasmin, is released after the death of the bacteria. It breaks synaptobrevin, which inhibits the exocytosis. Thus, neurotransmitter at synapse couldn't able to get out, and the muscle remains permanently in state of contraction. Tetanospasmin causes permanent contraction of jaw muscles, diaphragm and intercostal muscles, therefore causes death. The vaccine is called as ATS or anti-tetanus serum, and we have also tetanus toxoid in place for treatment. Another disease, soil-borne disease, is anthrax. Anthrax means coat. It is caused by Bacillus anthracis, which is a gram-positive spore-forming bacteria. Transmission happens by infected cow, sheep and goat. The bacteria produces exotoxin, and the organs which are affected by this bacteria are lungs, skin, blood, and the symptom involves headache, nausea, and fever. Then we have gas gangrene caused by Clostridium perfringens, which is a gram-positive bacteria. There is increased oxygen level in the diseased tissue. Then we have STDs and contact disease. What are STDs? The sexually transmitted diseases. It involves these STDs and contact disease involves gonorrhea, Neisseria gonorrhoeae, which is a gram-negative bacteria, causes gonorrhea. A Diplococcus, urinogenital tract is infected, and it is transmitted through sexual intercourse. Symptom involves pain while urination and causes sterility in females. It is prevented through education and administration of antibiotics like penicillin, ampicillin, afloxacin, doxycycline, usage of AgNO3 solution, tetracyclines, erythromycin, and povidone solution. The second STD is syphilis. Syn means together, philine means to love. It is a French disease, also called as French pox, and also called as Hutchinson's teeth or spotted teeth disease. It is caused by Treponema pallidum. Organs affected are skin, cardiovascular organs, and nervous system. We have VDRL test, the Wassermann test, FTA, ABS test, TPI test, and it is prevented by education, hygiene, and putting on condoms while having intercourse with unknown partners. Then we have leprosy, which is also called as Hansen's disease. Leprosy means scaly. The skin becomes scaly. Mycobacterium leprae is the causative organism, which is a rod-shaped bacteria. Degenerates and deforms the body organs. The organs which are affected include skin, bones, peripheral nerves. Facial features are lost. Fingers become curved. Toes becomes distorted. Infection happens by prolonged contact. The treatment is done by rifampin, dapsone, and sulfone. Then other bacterial diseases like typhus caused by Rickettsia prowazekii, whose vector is lice. French caused by Rochilimi quintana, whose vector is also lice. Then we have trachoma caused by Chlamydia trachomatis, is the disease of eye. Plague, also called as black death or black fever, caused by Pasteurella pestis, also called as Yersinia pestis, which is an endoparasite of flea called as Xenopsilla, which in turn is the ectoparasite on rats. Some of you might have known about the famous plague which spread during the 90s in Surat, which was spread by Xenopsilla, which is a ectoparasite on rats. The organs affected are lymph nodes, blood, and lungs. Food poisoning is also caused by Staphylococcus aureus and Clostridium perfringens. Q fever is caused by Coxella burnetii rickettsia. It is of disease of lungs. Vaginitis by Gardnerella gonorrhea is the disease of vagina in females. So students, this is all in the diseases which are caused by the bacteria. Thank you very much.